This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake on the Civic Media Network all over Turtle Island. You are listening to Native Roots Radio, and what we do is we discuss local and national Native news and events all over Turtle Island. And as you know, Ogimaa, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count.
Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Nearly 80% of brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days, and small moments of interaction like talking, playing, reading, and singing can help create pathways that build a child's brain in this early stage of life. If you'd like more information and resources, you can go to littlemomentscount.org. And Robert, we're so glad to have Little Moments Count on our show today.
Absolutely. Hey, we have Fawn, Youngbear, Tibbetts, and we're really excited to have her. And she's currently the program director and Indigenous food coordinator in Minneapolis, Ojibwe and Dakhota Language Immersion Early Childhood Center. And welcome, Fawn. And I wasn't able to pronounce the name of your school. Could you mind introducing yourself and telling us the name of your school, please?
Hi, Jewell will be joining us in a second. Can you hear me all right?
Hear you well.
Okay, great. So, Buju, get a go Kunst Indigenous Kaz, Gash, Gash, Gwash, Makagan, Dunjaba, Makwa, and Duda. My name is Fawn Youngbear Tibbetts, and, I was born in Leech Lake, but I'm enrolled in Whitehurst. And we, our program is Wicoie Nandagikendan. So it's Dakhota and Ojibwe, and it means they learn. Wicoie has been working since 2006. We're probably one of the first language immersion programs, one of the first urban language immersion programs. And we help pass legislation in the state of Minnesota to get legacy funding for other programs. So we have been a leader in language immersion. We also have a teacher training program that we run, and we've produced over 50 language immersion teachers in the state of Minnesota. So I'm super happy to be here with you guys and talk a little bit about our program and what we all do with our students and some of the new opportunities we have coming up.
That's awesome. I just want to tell our audience, because we're all over the country here and we have a lot of white relatives listening to us, and just talk a little bit about how important our language is for us as Native people. Not just, the obvious, that we want to learn, but, we could be, there could be no longer any Native people if we don't keep up with our language.
Yeah, and also culture, right? Language and culture aren't synonymous with each other, so that's also a really important part. Our program is seasonal curriculum, and so it's culture-based curriculum and language-based. So they learn the songs we plant when we're planting in the garden. They learn those songs, like, they all sing the tobacco song, and it's really important. Because we're not very represented in our community here in Minneapolis. When you go around to other centers, every program has kind of their own school and their own building. And it's sometimes difficult for native language revitalization. So one of the things that's really important, I think, that people really don't understand is how endangered these languages really are, right? So there's a list, a national languages list, and it says 99% of native languages are going to go extinct in the next 10 years. A native language basically goes extinct every day. We only have one Dakhota first speaker left in the state of Minnesota, and she's now older. She's working in her home community teaching, and so it's hard to explain the importance, right? Yeah. When you teach a language, you're not just teaching the language, you're teaching the ethic that comes with that language. You're teaching a thought process. You're teaching a way of looking at the world and a way of being in the world. So it's more than just language, but language is really the key component with the culture and the other learning activities that we do. And it is a full immersion class. I don't know any other programs that are running a dual language immersion class. I know in Duluth, they have one. It's Spanish, English, and Ojibwe, that they're running those 3 programs in the same building, but it's not necessarily.
Did you just lose us here? One of the things, I'm curious, how young are these young ones that are in your program?
Sure. So are you there? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Our students, it's an early childhood center, so we take infants to 5 years old. Wow. And a lot of our students end up going to Bedote, which is the K through 8 Dakhota and Ojibwe language immersion program here. And so that when our kids go into kindergarten, they're considered advanced speakers of the language. So they can hold a conversation with you. This year, right now, our oldest student, he's a return student, and he's 4. And we just did rice parching, and he was speaking in Ojibwe the whole time, and he's 4. Wow. And so that's really important. A lot of the other thing is it's a lot of teaching to the families as well. A lot of our families don't have a speaker in the home. And so part of that is, helping the families learn with their child so that they can keep engaging in the language on a regular basis in the home. So we do a lot of extra projects. We do a food program, and that we're trying to incorporate Indigenous foods into the breakfast, lunch, and snack, and then also back into the homes. So we bought Dream of Wild Health food shares for all of our families this year. And those are kind of expensive, but also wild rice and bison we provide for them. So it's much more than just the language program too. It's all of it. We're trying to hit them at home. We send home materials for families and parents, and then also for the for community events and things like that too. So we've been doing a lot of feasts, and having we've got a grant called the Linguistic Landscape. So if you drive through South Minneapolis and you see powwow grounds, you'll see the Ojibwe and the Dakhota word for coffee spray painted on the sidewalk. And so that was a program. When you drive through Minneapolis, we have Somali immersion schools. We have a German immersion school. We have a Latin immersion school in Minneapolis. So when you go anywhere, you see everything in Hmong, you see it in Somali, you see it in Spanish, but we don't see it in Dakhota and Ojibwe. And we're trying to change that, especially in the cultural corridor on Franklin Avenue.
Exactly. So we're going to take a break here in about a minute. One of the things that we've been talking about, and with partnering with Little Moments Count, is that how important it is for our young ones to learn young, and it puts the brain in a whole different way. And I was talking about I have a couple godchildren that speak Spanish and English, and took them a long time before they could process both languages when they were babies and started talking. But when they talked, they were fluent in both languages as a youngster could be. So just putting the brain together like that is just so important. And the work you're doing is so important, because the first few years of life is where we're going to be, where our young ones need to learn all these words and learn as many words and be read to in different languages and things like that. So it's very important work, and I appreciate you being on the show. I think we're going to take a quick break, Fawn, and I see Jewell just showed up, so we'll have her on in the next break. We're here with, we're doing a partnership with Little Moments, and Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Nearly 80% of the brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days. Small moments of interaction, like talking, playing, and reading and singing, help create pathways that build a child's brain during the early stage of life. So let's take a quick break here. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with Fawn, and soon we'll be with Jewell, and we're going to talk a little more and get a little more deeper. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count.
Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. For more information, you can visit littlemomentscount.org.
Hey, we're here with Fawn, Youngbear, Tibbetts, and we see Jewell. There's Jewell right there. We saw the ceiling there. Welcome, Jewell. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm here. I made it.
Right on. Hey, we're just talking a little bit about young ones and language, and the good things that Fawn is doing and how long she's been doing it. It's pretty exciting to hear this work, Jewell.
It is. Wicoie has been here since 2006, working in language revitalization with both the Dakhota and Ojibwe languages. And so we've, one of the other things Wicoie has done is develop lots and lots of immersion teachers working in the immersion field here in the Twin Cities. But I know today we're talking about the development of children, and we what we can say about that for the kids who come through our program is we like to say they leave very culturally grounded. And that means they know a lot about cultural protocols. They know how to smudge, they learn how to smudge and sing thank you songs, and they know how to put out tobacco. And Fawn probably told you a little bit about the food sovereignty program that we have going. And really the goal is to reacquaint our children with Indigenous foods from this food shed.
Yeah. Hey, I'm wondering, I want to ask Fawn, Jewell, I want to ask her what got her going on this? What got her excited to do this? Do you mind answering that, Fawn?
Sure. I worked for the University of Wisconsin for probably 12 years teaching teachers. And I helped with a restoration curriculum. About 2 years ago, I saw this job posting and I said, that's the perfect job for me. That's my job. It's food, it's curriculum, it's language, it's kids. And so I made the jump. I had been kind of over in Bad River, made the jump over here to the cities. And it was kind of an easy transition for me. I had known Jewell. Our community is quite small. The Native community is quite small. And so I had known Jewell for a long time. And Lisa Bellinger is on the board. So that's who had posted the job. And I was like, okay, that was written for me. And so, Jewell has been working in this program for on and off probably the last 10 or 15 years in different capacities. And so, this, without our founding mothers, that's what, we call the founding women that brought this organization together. Without their vision, we none of us would be working here and doing what we're doing for the language now. They had a really bold vision. And so it's kind of our responsibility now to carry that on and move it forward.
Jewell, can you talk a little deeper about the food sovereignty program? That's really interesting and excites me. Tell our listeners about that, if you don't mind.
Well, the food sovereignty program is really about directed towards the goal is when we get our own space that we will be able to serve breakfast, lunch, and snacks, and if we go all day, food from our food shed. So we might have, Fawn has really been instrumental in creating some of those menus. We've all done lots of research on what is indigenous food from this food shed, and we know that we have a vast variety here in Minnesota, from the berries to the fish to the wildlife, the deer and the buffalo and the moose and the elk and duck, and we have wild rice, our three sisters. We have lots of variety here to be creative and really acquaint our children. And the goal is really some long-term benefits. We know that our community is, we have huge statistics on obesity, diabetes, heart disease, all of those, detrimental health issues. And they start in early childhood many times. So if we could kind of target our early childhood, our families, and show them how to use, harvest, cook, grow these foods, we are hoping for some healthier lifestyle outcomes down the road. And that really is the initiative here. And we use our language when we are serving the kids our snacks or preparing foods, or when we're engaging families. We like to use the language as a platform to engage our families.
Yeah, it's important. I was told as an adult trying to learn Ho-Chunk, sacred voice, to learn one word a day and then don't ever use the English word again. So that's that's a hard task, and especially if you have a radio show, Jewell.
I bet. Well, the amazing thing is the kids really take to our foods. If we can catch them at this early we get the kids in our program as young as 16 months. And we go up to 5 years of age. And so if the kids are consistently, being fed these foods in very creative and supportive and positive environments, they're likely to, continue to eat these foods as they grow older. As we look at families, we look for food influencers within the family. We know that our little kids will do what the older kids. So if we can kind of target some of the teens or, some of those food influencers inside the home, the kids are too likely to begin to eat our foods, and really kind of creating that awareness with these young ones. I know I had my granddaughter in the program, and she was always asking, is this healthy for me to eat? So really kind of creating awareness between foods that are healthy for you to eat and foods that are not, and really connecting that, within the scope of language, how we can be healthy by eating our own traditional foods.
Right, exactly. Fawn, how have you been working with the food? Pretty much the same?
So I'm working on the menus. I handle the garden, and then I produce all the foods, right? So I am the cook. Some of the things that we serve, we got a really nice smoker and a dehydrator. So we've been doing some bison pastrami and jerkies, elk, a lot of dried berries and fruits for the kids. We do feast bundles. So with COVID, everything's gone virtual. So we're all pretty comfortable doing a Zoom type meeting. But that's hard when you're dealing with food. So we're doing some online recipes for them. Like how do you make a salad? We were giving out these food shares, and a lot of people didn't know how to use the vegetables. They didn't know what a kohlrabi was or how to use a turnip. And so a lot of it is educating families too on how to use the products we're giving them. I make a really phenomenal gluten-free vegan black bean brownie, and the kids love it. Okay, they love it. They have no clue that it's vegan and gluten-free. They just think it tastes like chocolate, Yeah. So really trying to strip down the dairy, with Badote, 85%, milk is the school's biggest waste.
Yeah.
The Food Lunch Providers USDA says you have to offer milk to your students. So what do you do when 85% of your students are lactose intolerant? And they say, celiac is really rare, right? The gluten allergy. We have parents who have the allergy, and it's likely that their young ones have that allergy too. So we have to be extra careful about those products that we're serving to kids. And then also working with the food service providers. So the food service provider in Minneapolis provides lunches to 12,000 kids a day. How can we have them implement an Indigenous diet? Because it's not just Native folks, it's West Africans, it's Asians that also are dealing, because they don't have the mutant gene to be able to digest dairy, right? Exactly. And so doing a lot of that. And then when, the kids come into the garden, I'm in there with them with their teachers. So we have 4 garden plots. We work a lot with Little Earth Farms and giving out seeds, because I get a lot of seeds from friends. There's a large Indigenous food sovereignty movement, especially in different reservations. So when we started, I just kind of wrote letters to everybody and said, hey, I need local seeds. And I got something like 400 seeds. And there's no way I could plant those seeds in my little bitty garden beds. So we took them to Theodore Worth, the Gatherings Cafe, Brian Yazzie. He took some of those seeds and grew them. The Children's Garden, Little Earth Farms, and then our garden as well.
Wow. Hey, Fawn, I just got I have just a statement I want to, Ogimaa has a question. One of the statements I want to say, when you were talking about milk and our kids, we're one of the few countries, meaning the United States, that gives milk from another mother or another kind of than anyone else. And, the old white mustache thing, it's just a crock. And I think a lot of early health problems I had was I really loved milk. And, go ahead, Ogimaa.
Yeah, so Bonjour, Anine. My name is Ogimaa Giniw Ikwe, and I just want to say that I really appreciate the work that you're doing to bring back the language revitalization, and a little bit jealous that it's not available up here in north central Minnesota, my neck of the woods. But maybe somebody said it already, but I'm curious, how many students do you have at your school? And I just want to get an idea for the level, because you're talking about educating their families too. So I wanted to get an idea of the scope of your work.
So I think right now we have 10 students in the Ojibwe program, and we are hiring a Dakhota teacher So if there are any Dakhota teachers out there listening, we have a little bit of a hiring bonus that we could offer. But we take up to 15, I think, is the limit in the classroom right now with COVID. That's their kind of the program's limit per classroom.
Wow. Hey, I want to thank you guys for being on, Jewell, Fawn. This is really great information, and not only great information, but I just appreciate what you guys are doing for the community. This has been a great little show here. This episode's of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership of Little Moments Count. So again, Pinigigi, we got to have you guys back on real soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, we have some other great stuff happening. It would be awesome to come back and talk to you about it.
Anytime.
Right on.
Okay. Thanks for having us.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back after this short message. This is Native Roots Radio. We just are really excited to have these guys on a couple times a month just to talk about what they do and what they have been doing, Ogimaa.
Yeah, the Little Moments Count group has been wonderful in bringing us guests and interviews with people who are doing wonderful work in Native country and beyond to help educate our young ones and bring joy to their lives, really. I'm really impressed with this program and was a little sad to hear, that they only have 10 students, but with COVID and, all of that social distancing, you gotta make sure that everybody's safe. But the other thing I started thinking about as a parent of two young girls myself is that it would be a huge commitment for my family to send a child to a traditional language immersion program. We don't have any speakers in our home. So, kudos to those families that did send their children there and that are learning the language along with their children.
Well, and two, it sounds like the kids after 18 months to 5 years old go to schools like Bedote, where they're immersion school, where there's a lot more students. I know Bedote used to be on the board, has over 100 students, or almost 100 at their immersion school. And Bedote means where the water and where the two waters merge, right? And I think that's Ojibwe.
I should know and I don't. So please forgive me, listeners and creator, for not knowing yet. But I don't know. If I had to guess, I think Bedote's Dakhota.
Yeah,
not a
you're
Jewell,
right.
But okay.
Now that I said that, you're right, because this is Lakota land here in Minnesota.
Yes, it is.
And so that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And in Wisconsin, that's Ho-Chunk land. I just wanted to throw that out there. Oh, yeah. And we have quite a few living here.
Yeah, even our listeners know that's Dakhota. I'm painfully Ojibwe, everybody. I don't speak Dakhota very well. So every time I butcher something Dakhota on air, I feel deeply sad. So many apologies for that.
Hey, if you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote, vote, vote like your life depends on it. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. Release Leonard Peltier now. Free Leonard Peltier now.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.